Hi, dudes and dames, and welcome. In the video Correctness and Identity Politics, I touched upon the fact that both the Communist and Nazi Party, in their rise to and keeping of power, were directly targeting the youth in an effort to plant their policies and politics in an early age. They did this through organizations, which attracted a lot of kids through propaganda promotion both in national media and through extensive exposure. They were, of course, portrayed as the ideal, the best of the best, the coming great generation. No one would object to their kids being upstanding citizens in this wrong world, right? These organizations were run much like cults, where the kids became indoctrinated with the organization's idea of right and wrong, the correctness, their political beliefs and otherwise, that the goal was to be prioritized above anything else, and especially the concept of true members versus everyone else was a core principle, the identity politics. By supplying these groups with the social tools needed, they shifted most children's attachment from their families to the organization, which had a huge impact on families, to say the least. These groups became the primary outlets for self-expression among the kids. They were proud of the badge and they worked hard to get it. The groups were formidable political tools and was of course exploited every inch for that purpose. Through this glorification of the organizations and active political work behind the scenes, they gained influence within, among other, education and was able to impose their training and schooling onto everyone from kindergarten and up. This meant their policies and their politics were projected on to an entire generation, which in turn was a huge contributor to the amount of extremist and radicalized supporters later on. Among the tools they were supplied was that they always had adults ready to listen and help, especially when it came to relatives which acted or spoke against the goal of the organization. As the power of the backers of the organization grew, this became an increasing problem for the relatives to the kids engaged. And once the backers could do so, the groups were given the authority to enforce the rules. So this means eventually these brainwashed kids ended up policing their parents, relatives and surroundings. This developed to the point where did anyone act against the rules or speak out against the goal, they were arrested and most often never seen again. It became every other day news that a neighbor had been arrested and gone. The fear discouraged most from speaking out, and those who did speak out disappeared. Now, this is a very rough description, but to underline how this were perceived by the regimes using it. Lenin used it with great efficiency in the Soviet, and it became a key component to their power. It was picked up by Stalin, and by this time it was a science and was attended and developed by scientists. The Nazi regime picked it up from there and further developed and perfected these methods. And though it was despicable, they were extremely good at what they did, and it had a huge impact on their societies at the expense of the normal population. The real problem being that when people were finally ready to speak out, they couldn't. It was too late. I think most can imagine that if you were to go about doing something like this today, it would be somewhat more subtle, sneaking and spread out. Just to put your mind at ease, a lot of all these scientists were of course rescued and afterwards employed by the CIA in the many branches of the privatized military sector. What I'm trying to say is, when they start targeting the kids, it is definitely not in the best interest of everyone. They target the kids because rational, self-thinking adults see through the bullshit. Thanks for watching.